Hi, welcome to another video on IGCSE Business Studies, where today we're going to cover the second chapter, that is classification of business. Now, if we remember, back in chapter number 1, we covered the definition of a business, which is basically to identify the customer's wants and provide them with goods and services that satisfies those wants. We also covered the basic economic problem, which is that resources are limited, but our wants in general are unlimited because we want everything, but the world has only so much to satisfy us with. So that gives us into specialization and other ways that we have developed, we as human society over the years. I think in 1800 or something, society over the years has tried to solve or satisfy as much as possible, and so we develop division of labor, specialization, and other techniques to maximize resources into providing maximum goods and services so that we can cover as much of the wants as possible, wants and needs as possible. So today we're going to cover more about business that is classified into different sectors. Now, businesses can be classified by stages of economic activity. So we've got 3 stages of economic activity. Stage 1 being the primary sector, where you deal with everything that is related to extracting natural resources from earth or raw materials that are used by manufacturing businesses in the secondary sector. So think about farming, fishing, extracting coal, extracting oil, extracting anything that is a raw material to manufacturing goods or natural resources that are extracted is called the primary sector. Now the second stage basically is the secondary sector, where raw materials from the primary sector are converted into finished goods. So the primary sector feeds their natural or extracted resources, extracted goods, extracted minerals or natural resources, and they are fed into the secondary sector, which are then processed into finished goods. Think about a tomato that is grown in the farm field. Then it is sent to a manufacturing company and converted into ketchup. The third stage is the tertiary sector. The tertiary sector deals with providing services to consumers and other sectors of the industry. So a manufacturing industry, if you look back at the secondary stage, it's not only isolated in just manufacturing goods. It needs other services to survive. So you've got consultants, you've got accountants, you've got many other specialist workers that tend to help the manufacturing business in order to provide those goods and services to the consumers. Even think about doctors here. A manufacturing employee would need a doctor from time to time when he falls ill. So tertiary sector basically provides services to all other industries and to consumers. When we look at different countries, we can see the importance of each sector being different in different stages, different stage economies. So when you look at developing countries, you can see more people are employed in the primary sectors. So countries that are such as Bangladesh, such as India, such as Pakistan, such as Nepal, they've got more people working in agriculture, farming, fishing, than those countries that are developed, such as in the UK. In economically developed countries, more people are employed in the secondary and tertiary activities. That means more people are generally in manufacturing or in tertiary services. It's just about the ratio of the percentage of population and how they're employed. So if you're looking at a developing country, you could say in extreme cases 80% of the working population are employed in the primary industry. To think about why most developed countries have moved away from primary services. So, if you're thinking about farming and fishing, why has every country is, if you think about it, everyone needs food to survive. So, why has a country moved away from farming and fishing when the population has generally increased over the years? So, we look back, we look into this, we investigate this matter, and we find that most developed countries have moved away due to demand and other reasons. So, first of all, you understand that the resources are limited. So, when you have mine minerals and like coal or natural resources and they're extracted, they normally deplete and end after a certain storage is finished. This would make the manufacturer either have to outsource the raw materials from another country to replace the depleted storage. And that's why, rather than import those raw materials, they normally shift their location into other countries where there is a complete store of natural resources. The second thing is you lose competitiveness to newly industrialized countries. So you have countries such as, compare China to the UK. The UK has a minimum wage that is way more than that of China. So the labor being paid in the UK are almost twice or three times, in effect, those that are paid in China. If you have costs like that adding up when in working in a developed country, and in developing countries you have less costs, that's why manufacturers are enticed to developing countries, because they see the opportunity of savings and they see a way to maximize their profit margins. That's why developed countries are losing manufacturing industries. The third thing being is the growing demand for services. So, as people have more wealth, think about yourself. If you have an allowance or if you have increased wealth, the first thing you'd like to do is say you want to gift yourself, or you want to pat yourself on the back and give yourself a treat. So, you would look for a concert, you would look for a restaurant, you'd look for some way to satisfy your extra income, your extra wealth that you have. Similarly, in developed countries, there is more demand for services, and those services generally tend to have higher profit margins and benefit higher higher profit margins than manufacturing industries. That's why you have more population working in the tertiary sector. So the basic definition, one of the definitions that you would have to memorize for your exams is deindustrialization. Deindustrialization is what we talked about when there is a movement of when a country basically undergoes a change where manufacturing industries leave the country and it is replaced by more people being employed into the tertiary sector. That is called deindustrialization. Then we move on into the mixed economy. So mixed economy is generally what we find in most countries, where it is a mix between private sector and public sector. So private sector is basically defined as any business that is run by private individuals who make the decisions about what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. All made by private individuals. They have their basic motivation is to make profit. So profit maximization is their main goal. That is what they're interested at. Public sector is run by the government. The government decides what to produce, for whom to produce, and how to produce. So, the government are motivated by other factors. Think about a bus route that goes into an isolated town where the population is only 10 people. I know there is very less villages like that, but a government in essential would generally provide those kind of services where a public sector would not, because a, a public sector would provide those services, but a private sector would refrain from it because the profit would not be worth it. So the public sector's main goal is to increase social welfare. They're looking to maximize general public, what do they need, what does the local community need, and they try to provide as much as they try to provide goods and services that maximizes those needs. So generally in a mixed economy, all the important aspects of society that cannot be given to private individuals, such as police and police. Then you have education in most countries, health services. So you can't give these services away to the private sector where it's all going to be about profit. So you can't be like the police won't come to check up on your house unless you pay them a fee or unless there is a benefit for them. That does not make sense. Similarly, if you have services like health and education where they look at only the places that provide them with a good fees, tuition fee or something of that sort, then it's going to be really exploited by them. So most economies or most countries try to keep the most important services in the public sector, and the rest they try to provide them in the private sector. Private sector also, but private sector also helps in competition between different kind of, when you have a business in private sector, there is a lot of competition. There is a lot of the goods and services that come out due to competition are generally of high standard, where the public sector is government, and normally the government, because they don't have competition in those fields, so you have law enforcement, you have health and education, if they are only run by the government, they could, due to lack of competitiveness, become complacent and their services could decline. So that is one of the things that are generally worrisome about both sectors. So we've covered over this chapter about how businesses are classified into stages of economic activity. So in the basic stage, you have extraction of natural resources and raw materials. Then you are sending them like a process into the next step of the chain, where they are processed into finished goods and services. And these goods and services are then sent to consumers. So these consumers and the people that are producing these goods all need services to survive or to function properly. And those are provided by the tertiary sector. Then we look into why different countries have their population in different ratios in different sectors. And further along, we look at the type mixed economies and how there is two types of sector and generally what kind of businesses may exist in each type of sector. So thanks for watching, and hopefully we can continue soon. Bye.